Right, couldn't help myself. I was just watching this bit of Sky News, and it's Rishi Sunak's speech, and I just in Downing Street. I just wanted to give it a listen. It's the end of Dizzy Lizzie's speech and beginning, and then Sunak's, and it's just great.
I believe in the British people, and I know that brighter days lie ahead.
Now the cabinet reshuffle begins.
Oh,
Sky
yeah.
News understands that Jacob Rees-Mogg has left his post as business secretary.
Mog's gone. So you've got the Victorian cosplayer's gone. Finally, we don't need why. That guy should never have been anywhere near government.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sky News at 1. We are live in Downing Street for you. Well, the last few hours has seen the departure of one Prime Minister, Britain's shortest serving ever, and the arrival of the youngest holder of the office in modern political times. In a statement this lunchtime, the new number 10, Rishi Sunak, praised his predecessors, both Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, but said mistakes had been made and that it was his job to correct them.
Here we go.
Good morning. I've just been to Buckingham Palace and accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government in his name.
Right.
It is only right to explain why I'm standing here as your new Prime Minister.
Yeah,
right now,
considering we didn't vote for you.
Our country is facing a profound economic crisis. The aftermath of COVID still lingers. Putin's war in Ukraine has destabilized energy markets and supply chains the world over. I want to pay tribute to my predecessor, Liz Truss. She was not wrong to want to improve growth in this country. It is a noble aim. And I admired her restlessness to create change. But some mistakes were made. Not born of ill will or bad intentions. Quite the opposite, in fact. But mistakes nonetheless. And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins
Steve Bray, I think it
immediately.
Is. I predict a riot.
I will place...
Whilst Rishi Sunak was doing this. Fucking class.
Economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come. But you saw me during COVID doing everything I could to protect people and businesses with schemes like furlough. There are always limits, more so now than ever. But I promise you this, I will bring that same compassion to the challenges we face today.
Really? Austerity 2.0?
The government I lead will not leave the next generation, your children and grandchildren, with a debt to settle that we were too weak to pay ourselves. I will unite our country, not with words, but with action. I will work day in and day out to deliver for you.
Day out.
This government will have integrity, professionalism, and accountability at every level.
At every
Trust is earned, and I will earn yours. I will always be grateful to Boris Johnson for his incredible achievements as Prime Minister. And I treasure his warmth and generosity of spirit. And I know he would agree that the mandate my party earned in 2019 is not the sole property of any one individual. It is a mandate that belongs to and unites all of us. And the heart of that mandate is our manifesto. I will deliver on its promise. A stronger NHS, better schools, safer streets, control of our borders, protecting our environment, supporting our armed forces, levelling up and building an economy that embraces the opportunities of Brexit, where businesses invest, innovate, and create jobs. I understand how difficult this moment is.
It is at the
After the billions of pounds it cost us to combat COVID. After all the dislocation that caused. In the midst of a terrible war that must be seen successfully to its conclusions, I fully appreciate how hard things are. And I understand too that I have work to do to restore those radar dishes.
There's no way. I mean, I haven't got the smallest ears, but still.
All I can say is that I am not daunted.
Those radar dishes on the side of his head, there's no way you can't hear Steve Bray,
and I hope
whoever it is playing
to live up to its demands. But when the opportunity to serve comes along, you cannot question the moment, only your willingness. So I stand here before you, ready to lead our country into the future.
It's not just about your willingness,
to put your
it's about your suitability
above politics,
for the fucking job.
To reach out
Liz
and build
was willing
a government
to do it.
that represents the very best traditions of my party. Together, we can achieve incredible things. We will create a future worthy of the sacrifices so many have made, and fill tomorrow and every day thereafter with hope. Thank you.
Sunak speaking there. Now, I can tell you that in the last minute or so, Brandon Lewis.
So, just before we listened to that speech, we heard that Jacob Rees-Mogg has resigned, and then after we hear that, we heard that Brandon Lewis has resigned. That's hilarious.
Lewis has resigned as Secretary of State for Justice. He sent out a tweet in which he said it's an honour to have been one of the longest serving cabinet ministers, having done 8 ministerial roles.
I have my support from the backbenchers, meaning I will stab you in the back.
The new PM will have my support from the backbenchers to tackle the many challenges we face as a party and as a country. So Brandon Lewis there joining Jacob Rees-Mogg in resigning, perhaps jumping before they were pushed. But Brandon Lewis emphasising in his resignation letter, you will have my support from the backbenchers in addressing the economic crisis we face, bringing our party together and delivering on the promises we put forward in the 2019 manifesto. Well, the reshuffle has well and truly begun, hasn't it? But the formal start of Rishi Sunak's term in office began with an audience with King Charles.
I'll start that there. I love the fact that, like I said, it's you got Mogg resigning, and then you got Dizzy Lizzy is gone, and I can't see her coming back. I don't know why anyone will bring her back. The Victorian cosplayer also gone. You could say I'm a medieval cosplayer. I don't care. But this is modern, so I wonder who else is going to jump ship. I'm rather interested to see who else is going to jump ship, because that's rather funny. I have to admit that's rather funny. Oh, looks like Sky News managed to get Anna Soubry. Let's see if I can. While she's a Tory, like, she's quite funny. So.
Of politicians, if you like. The problem is he's promised not to just bring his friends and allies into cabinet, which is often what a new prime minister will do. He has said he will, have lots of different people, lots of different factions within his cabinet. The problem then is you end up with not your friends, but sometimes your previous political enemies sitting around your cabinet table, being roused, people brief against you. These are all the calculations that Rishi Sunak and his team will be thinking about at the moment.
I wonder if the smart move was doing what James Cleverly and Dean Zahawi did then. Back your rival, more chance for a job. Thank you very much, Liz Bates there, with her analysis on that ongoing reshuffle. Now, in making his cabinet appointments, Rishi Sunak must consider, as we've been discussing, how to unite a very divided Conservative Party. And some MPs already openly calling the party ungovernable and saying a general election could be the only answer. Well, we're joined now by the former Conservative Minister, Anna Soubry. Thank you very much for being with us. Do you think a general election is the only way forward?
I do, actually. I mean, look, people are going to give a little bit of breathing space to Rishi Sunak because this is a momentous occasion in the sense that this is the first ever British Asian, a man of colour, to go into number 10 and be our Prime Minister. And that is important. And that must be marked. I think, to be honest with you, I think most of your viewers will just think this is one great big blooming part of the pantomime. And the pantomime season has come incredibly early.
Sunak, I will build an economy that embraces Brexit. And I'm like, what? So, one that's like embraces the fact that it's going to be smaller than it otherwise would be. I'm rather confused by that statement. So okay. Did it, just as an aside, by the way, did anyone hear about the? I think I heard it off a different bias earlier, and you had who were it? Basically, Mog was like, it's right, we don't need the standards and regulations, it's all good, it's the EU take care of it. We left the EU, so the trades basically skirt round EU standards and are supposed to meet our standards, only we didn't bother to set up an infrastructure or staff for it. So Sunak saying, I will build an economy that embraces Brexit. Yes, Anne Soubry, definitely time for general election.
And I think that,
although I have been convinced that it should be done spring, early summer next year. I hate to drag it out that long, but still.
His real task, of course, and I heard what Ed Conway had to say, and there were a lot of wise words in that, but his real task is, can he restore trust with the British electorate and avoid electoral defeat in about 2 years' time? And it's a huge mountain to climb. I think his political problem in his party is that there'll be lots of people in his parliamentary party thinking it is too big a hill to climb, too big a mountain to climb, and they'll all be jockeying for positions when he loses the general election, and then they will want to further their ambitions. So it's a really tough task that Sunak has in front of him.
We're in the middle of the appointments, or the sackings, if you like. With your experience in Westminster, what do you think is the smartest route for Rishi Sunak? Should he bring in some of his enemies, if you like, into the fold to show that he's trying to reach out and unify the party? Or is he actually better off picking the people who are loyal to him, who has got faith in?
Sorry, Sophie. Sorry, I was a bit sharp with you when I said no. Look,
go on then.
Some of these, well, he's got to pick people who are competent and good. That was the problem with Johnson. That was one of the many problems with Johnson. That was a huge problem for Truss, was that they just picked people who were just nodding dog yes men and women. And, there's a huge myth in the Tory party. I get quite agitated about this because obviously I'm old enough to remember the days of Margaret Thatcher. She liked people in her cabinet she chose them because they were good. And if they didn't agree with her, she welcomed that because she liked a good, rigorous debate, and rightly so, because that's how you test out your policies.
Yes, it is.
And remember, her greatest chancellor was Ken Clarke, and yet they're seen, understandably, on different wings of the Conservative Party, and that's true. But she wanted people with ability, and that's what he should go for, because recent cabinets, honestly, have been shocking in their paucity. The problem is, there aren't many good people left because of the purges that Johnson carried out towards the end of 2019 and into that general election. But competence is what has got to guide him in these appointments. And I'm not saying that's why Brandon Lewis has gone, by the way, because I think Brandon actually is competent. He has other things, but he is competent. But the others, some of those others are shockers. Poor old Wendy Morton had to go. She should never have been made cheaper, but that's in the past, of course.
Well, I'm interested to know your take on the way forward for the Conservative Party. I mean, look, no one would envy Rishi Sunak his in tray. Rising inflation, a huge black hole in the public finances, the party that is completely riven and split. Do you think he's got any chance of winning the next election?
I honestly don't think he has.
Yep.
I honestly don't think the British people will forgive and forget, and nor should they, because what we've seen, arguably in the last 6 years, but most notably since 2019, is a disgraceful situation, and it's not things that have been done to the Conservative Party. These are disasters of their own making. They chose Boris Johnson. Alternatives were available. They chose Liz Truss. He was available. And I mean, he's very bright and able. There's no debate about that. I just don't think he's got the experience. And there are other things that I politically don't agree with Rishi Sunak. But he's incredibly inexperienced to take the top job in these really, really, really difficult times. No, I think the Tory party don't deserve to be re-elected for all the.
I hate to agree with the Tory. She's absolutely correct.
The reasons which have been exercised on your programme and others for a long time, Sophie. They don't deserve it, and we need change, and we need, well, I'd like to see a new way that we do politics, but we need change desperately because we just can't go on like this. I mean, they certainly don't deserve another term.
Would you vote for the Conservative Party under Rishi Sunak?
No. The man I want going through that door is Keir Starmer. I think he's the only leader of any political party that's got the ability that we need, the competence, and he's got the decency. And also, he's a proper pro. He's a former director he's a former DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions. That's a serious job. He was knighted because of his ability and his service to his country in that job. And he's the only person, I think, who can lead us in the direction that we need to go in.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Anna Soubry there. Thank you. Well, we should be...
You heard it here. Anne Soubry would like to see Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. Her own words. Out of a Tory mouth. I know she's now an ex-Tory, but still. I've always known her as Conservative. More to the centre than the right, but still a Tory nonetheless. And she's saying that not only is there no choice but Keir, she's saying she wants Keir. Gotta admit, I have to agree with her points. Starmer's had to become somewhat as ruthless as the Tories. Something the Tories seem to have lost. to force us back to the centre left rather than the far left, rather than going solidly left, which has brought us back into the mainstream politics. So I think that's hilarious. I'm going to stop this there, but I find that hilarious. That's hilarious. So Sunak speech and the back, and you know, some of the analysis from it, like, yes, this is kind of selective, but I only just clicked into it, so, and this is what I found. I did do some looking before I hit record. However, I think that, like, what more do you need to know about this situation? If you want, go find it. And it's on Sky News. Just go on Sky News, press rewind, or you can go and just rewind it and find any bit you want to find that you think is interesting. But those little bits I thought were quite funny, and fuck knows what's going to happen next. I wasn't expecting to make a video this quick. I was expecting to do it a little bit later, but okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I can't believe once again I'm agreeing with Anne Soubry here. Like, has Anne Soubry become centre left? Well, some surprises here from Shadowita. Blessed Thursday, everyone. Like and subscribe and share if you like on any platform. I don't care. I hope everyone has I hope for all you people out there, go out and good day.